The 2022 NBA trade deadline is officially over, and oh boy, with all the moves that have been made, some were pretty big.
That's what she said.
With that being said, for this video, we're going to be doing an official full recap of everything that happened so far. As NBA fans, it is very important for us to be updated, and that's why for this video, I wanted to give you guys all of the full coverage, the full recap, simply of everything that we need to know. So if you're a big NBA fan and want to know what happened during the deadline this year, you're gonna love this. Just quickly, if you're new to the channel and love basketball, I would love to welcome you to Easy Buckets. My name is Soom and I make basketball videos every single day. So if you're new, be sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on post notifications to not miss any of my upcoming videos. If you watched this video and you loved it, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. I'd really appreciate it. It would help with the channel a lot. But without wasting any more time, let's talk about the 2022 NBA trade deadline. The first team that I want to talk about is the Los Angeles Lakers, and I'm very upset because during the NBA trade deadline, the Lakers made zero moves. As the NBA trade deadline was going to end, we were live streaming and we were super excited for a last minute, clutch, crunch time move, but then Adrian Woj tweeted this 5 minutes after the deadline ended at 3:05. No deal for the Lakers, sources tell ESPN. They'll focus on the buyout market. Lakers were very upset you didn't make a move because we all thought that Russell Westbrook or even Talon Horton-Tucker would be traded. But this is the first update I want to give everybody, that the Lakers stayed put. The first big trade that happened was between the Clippers and the Portland Trailblazers, where the Clippers traded away Eric Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, Keon Johnson, and a future second-round pick to the Blazers in exchange for Norman Powell and Robert Covington. Of course, this trade didn't happen during the NBA trade deadline day, but of course, this was around the same time, and right now Norman Powell and Covington are playing for the Clippers. Everybody is saying the Clippers won this deal, while the Blazers are immediately just saying they're in a full rebuild mode and trading away all of their starting caliber rotation players. So of course, this is a big time trade. The next trade happened on the same day, and it's the Indiana Pacers sending away Caris LeVert, a 2022 second round pick, to Cleveland Cavaliers for Ricky Rubio and a bunch of second round and first round picks. This trade is very important because right now the Cavaliers are very good with Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and of course their other rotational pieces. So bringing a new caliber point guard of Caris LeVert, who of course is getting better, he's young, has a lot of potential, it boosts the Cavaliers overall rotation and gives them more of a good quality depth point of view. The next trade on this list is with the Portland Trailblazers again, and they're not done. They traded away CJ McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., Tony Snell in exchange to the Pelicans for Josh Hart, Thomas Satoransky, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Didi Lozada, and a 2022 first round pick. Of course, the Pelicans might have a pretty good pick in this year's upcoming draft, and the Blazers will ultimately go for a full rebuild mode. But of course, CJ McCollum leaving Dame is a big time story. Very unfortunate. Hopefully CJ McCollum will do well with Brandon Ingram, a healthy Zion Williamson next year, and Devontae Graham, and even Jonas Valanciunas is still there as well. So the Blazers kind of downgrade here, go for a futuristic point of view, while the Pelicans get some pretty good much needed leadership, and of course at the shooting guard position. The next trade is also a blockbuster revolving Domantas Sabonis of the Indiana Pacers, and it's Domantas Sabonis being traded from the Indiana Pacers to the Sacramento Kings in exchange for Tyrese Haliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson. This deal was huge because we all knew the Pacers were entering a rebuild mode. They traded away their best all-star of Domantas Sabonis, but the most interesting part is why would the Kings trade away Tyrese Haliburton? I would think they want to trade away De'Aaron Fox instead, but of course it was Tyrese that ended up coming in for this deal. But now the Sacramento Kings are going to work towards a duo of De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. The next trade is probably the biggest trade of the NBA trade deadline, and it's a trade revolving 4 teams: the Pistons, the Clippers, the Bucks, and the Sacramento Kings. Adrian Woj and Shams both tweeted this, and this was a huge deal. This is the full package. The Sacramento Kings get Dante DiVincenzo from the Bucks, Trey Lyles and Josh Jackson from the Pistons, while the Bucks get Serge Ibaka from the Clippers. This is huge. The Bucks got a much needed upgrade because, of course, right now Brook Lopez is dealing with back surgery. The Clippers get Rodney Hood and Semi Ojeleye, and the Pistons get Marvin Bagley Jr. We're gonna hope that Marvin Bagley Jr. can find a home in Detroit. We all know he's a former second overall pick and hasn't really lived up to expectation in Sacramento, but I believe Marvin Bagley going to the Pistons is one of the under the radar trades that could, of course, blossom Marvin Bagley's career. Moving on and talking about the Toronto Raptors, the Raptors end up trading Goran Dragic and a protected 22 first-round pick in exchange for Thaddeus Young, Drew Eubanks, and a second-round pick from the Spurs. And we just got news that Drew Eubanks will be waived by the Raptors. But of course, this trade is the Raptors just simply unloading a player that doesn't want to be there. And from what we're hearing, Goran Dragic might get bought up by the San Antonio Spurs. But of course, it's a swap of draft picks and futuristic assets. And this year, the Raptors are actually going for a potential playoff run. So on the Raptors' perspective, they brought in Thaddeus Young, a veteran, to play the center position and bring in some leadership and NBA experience. Moving on to the biggest trade of the NBA trade deadline, revolving Ben Simmons and James Harden. The Brooklyn Nets are trading James Harden to the 76ers for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. Oh boy, this trade is very complicated because on the other end, James Harden has the opt-in to his player option, which means he's going to be on Philly next season as well. But overall, people are saying that the Brooklyn Nets ended up winning this trade because James Harden, in exchange for him, they got so many assets. 3 rotational players of Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Andre Drummond. Of course, 3 players to potentially be in the starting lineup alongside Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. On Philly's perspective, of course, this season, Ben Simmons was not going to play for them, which is why they pulled the plug. But I do believe the duo of James Harden and Joel Embiid, it's going to be an unstoppable force, and they've become a favorite to win the NBA championship. Of course, if Doc Rivers can find a good rotation and playbook for this new duo. But then on the Nets perspective, we're going to hope that Ben Simmons is going to ramp up his workload, come back and be active, and then see the return of Kevin Durant. Because right now, even though Kyrie Irving is still on the roster, he's still not available for home games. But maybe this trade could spark something different in Brooklyn, where they also compete for a championship. An amazing Eastern Conference Finals would be the Philadelphia 76ers taking on the Brooklyn Nets. That would be incredible to watch. And of course, it's kind of sad to see that James Harden got traded 2 times over the past year, from Rockets to the Brooklyn Nets, and now from the Brooklyn Nets to Philly. Hopefully he finds a home in Philly alongside Joel Embiid. Moving on, we're going to be talking about the Phoenix Suns. The Suns made an under-the-radar move, and they're finalizing a deal with the Pacers, where they got Torrey Craig for Jalen Smith and a future second-round pick. I'm telling you guys, this trade right here is under the radar. No one's really talking about it, but I do believe it's very important because Torrey Craig was a part of the Phoenix Suns roster last year, where they went to the NBA Finals, and that's why the Suns want him back, for his defensive presence, his energy, his high motor, and I do believe this is a great trade for the Suns as they're competing this year, and they have the best record in the NBA right now. Go Phoenix! Moving on, we're going to be talking about Montrezl Harrell of the Washington Wizards, and he just got traded to the Charlotte Hornets in exchange for Ish Smith and Vernon Carey Jr. I believe this is a horrible deal for the Washington Wizards, but a great deal for the Hornets. Montrezl Harrell comes in to being a veteran leader, brings in that energy to play alongside LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, and of course the other players like Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward. The Charlotte Hornets are getting better season after season, and with Montrezl Harrell on an expiring contract, that's why the Wizards ended up trading him. Hopefully he finds a home in Charlotte, where he ends up re-signing this upcoming offseason. The next big trade we got is the Mavericks trading Kristaps Porzingis in exchange for Spencer Dinwiddie. This is also one of the bigger trades during this year's NBA trade deadline, where Spencer Dinwiddie leaves Wizards to go to Dallas to join Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson. Of course, in the Mavericks' perspective, they also get Davis Bertans, which is a decent replacement for Porzingis as a sharpshooter. But of course, on the Wizards' perspective, you can tell that once Bradley Beal was ruled out for the rest of the season, they're entering a rebuild mode. They just unloaded Spencer Dinwiddie and Montrezl Harrell, and now the entire team is going to be about Kristaps Porzingis and Kyle Kuzma. We're going to see how this trade affects Kuzma and of course affects KCP and the other players on the Wizards roster. But on Luka's side, a lot of Dallas Mavericks fans aren't really happy, because why would you trade away your second best player for players that are struggling right now? And the last trade on this list is revolving the Boston Celtics, and that's the Boston Celtics trading away Dennis Schroeder to the Houston Rockets in exchange for Daniel Tice. The Celtics love Daniel Tice. They want to bring him back in, and that's why right now the Boston Celtics have been very active during the NBA trade deadline. So of course, Dennis Schroeder goes to the Rockets, and a part of this deal is Enes Freedom, aka Enes Kanter, also going to the Rockets, but he just got waived, and we're going to see if a team picks up Enes Freedom in the open waiver wire buyout market. So yes guys, this wraps up my video talking about the official 2022 NBA trade deadline recap. What's most important to me is I want to know your thoughts. What did you guys think about this year's NBA trade deadline? Let me know all of your opinions down in the comments below. But other than that, take it easy, God bless. I'll see you all next time on Easy Buckets. Woo!